Oh, here we are with another indie submission, Windlyn Vale by Tobias Youngblood. It has been a bit of a mixed bag since I started accepting books for review. Submissions are temporarily closed, by the way, so it's always a relief when a book turns out to be good. Is Windlyn Vale good? I know what I think intuitively, but when I wrote this part of the script, I hadn't figured out my ratings for the book yet, so let's find out together. No writing advice. Before we dive headfirst into the ratings, what's the story? Windlyn Vale centres on a society of giant insects who can shapeshift for some reason, essentially animorphs if the animorphs started as bugs. The insects, the Vilschi, no way I said that right, are isolated and presumably alone after a cataclysmic event ended the world, or most of the world. But then trouble shows up in the Vale, and our protagonist, Siv the Seer, must figure out what's what and save the clan from certain doom. Yeah. Alright, let's discuss the world building, which I give a... Okay, so I took some points off here for some very specific reasons, and I'm questioning whether I took off enough. I don't enjoy doing ratings, it's hard. Anyway, enough complaining from me. I give the world building a tentative 3.5 out of 5. Shapeshifting insects is a nice angle, and their in-world society is well crafted. There's a caste or creation system, a hierarchy of sorts, and Windlyn Vale itself is a well-constructed setting. We don't learn too much about the wider world, which makes sense considering the situation and the isolation. We do get some familiar creatures in the Vale, which feels somewhat generic in contrast to the but it works in the context of the story. The are unique, somewhat alien, and they should stand out. And they do. My main issue with the world building is several elements of what I guess you could call the magic system feel more convenient than thought out. Some I can't mention due to spoilers, but I can discuss the shapeshifting. It's never explained how the shapeshifting works, but the hints you do get sort of contradict one another. For example, at one point, it's implied the Vishluti learn to shapeshift by examining a creature they want to mimic, and when they transform, they don't always get it right visually. It depends on the shapeshifter's skill level, I guess, but sometimes there are tells with the transformations. They look a little off, a little uncanny perhaps. What I don't understand is how can they be unskilled enough that they don't quite match what they're trying to mimic visually, but they can somehow replicate the organs of the creature to gain their senses? In Animorphs, characters can mimic creatures perfectly because morphing is based on DNA. In Windlyn Vale, shapeshifting and some other elements of the world building and magic system seem to be based on whatever's convenient for the plot. I don't know. What I do know is it's a good time to discuss the storytelling. My segues, they are getting worse. Now, this is a tough one. Windlyn Vale holds back a lot of information. You need to connect the dots yourself in many cases, which is fine. And in many cases, subtext is better than over-explaining. But the conclusions I come to will affect the ratings in certain areas. After a lot of agonizing and rereading my notes, I'm giving the storytelling a 3.5 out of 5. It's good, but I couldn't quite get to great with my rating. Here's why. Storytelling-wise, Windlyn Vale has a lot going for it. Throughout the narrative, there's a building sense of mystery and foreboding, and the tension escalates nicely. It's a well-structured story. There are several layers of mystery, and payoffs and reveals arrive at a reasonable pace, a somewhat rapid pace. The reasons for the clan's situation make sense, and overall, the plot is strong. All the Chekhov's guns do go off, or should I say Chekhov's no spoilers, and the plot builds nicely to a resolution with plenty of twists and turns along the way. It's a short, fast-paced story that's easy to digest, but like I said, the author does hold back a lot. Not everything is explained in the end, which is... it's part of the problem. I'm okay with maintaining mystery, but from what I can tell, important plot points are either fueled by a bunch of coincidences or divine intervention. Whatever it is, it looks like luck. Even Civ's initial plan to stop a direwolf threat relies heavily on luck to succeed. This is partly a character issue, which we'll get to soon, but because we don't explicitly know what causes all these bursts of luck, it's hard to critique the plot properly. Divine intervention is the lesser of two evils because at least there are reasons behind certain moments, but a plot fueled by coincidence is weak, in my opinion. I'm looking at you, Charles Dickens, wherever you are. I will say there's a thought provoking theme that runs through the narrative around accepting or questioning authority. We see multiple authority figures decide to keep secrets for the greater good. Even Civ falls into that trap, and there are consequences. Consequences for blindly accepting authority and for questioning it. It turns out to be a bit of a grey area. It's not entirely clear who's right, the secretive authority figure or the curious rebel. I mean, that's life a lot of the time, so there's some realism there. One final point on the storytelling. The ending feels a little rushed. The clan are in a tough situation, and I was waiting for Civ to come up with some mind-blowing plan to save the day, but all of his plans are so simple and luck reliant. The ending itself is satisfying and leaves room for future stories, but the path to get there is a little underwhelming. When characters are put in impossible situations, they need to come up with creative solutions. Otherwise, the resolution feels cheap and unearned. Part of the issue is Civ as a character. All right, let's do it. Straight up, I'm giving characters a satisfactory 3 out of 5. They're okay, they get the job done, the job of being characters, that is. The secondary characters, including Civ's apprentice Atoll, are well written and believable, although some that are important to the plot, like Ilyana, for example, don't get what I would call strong character development, but strong enough, satisfactory for a story of this type and length. The focus really is on Civ most of the time. The Master of the Clan, Master Wern, is one of the more interesting secondary characters, and his actions and decisions are important to the plot. Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything there, so I said the secondary characters are believable. My biggest issue with the characters overall is Civ himself. With that said, Civ does get a nice character arc, which mostly saves him as a character, going from the naive seer who bows to authority to the curious rebel and a more influential authority figure himself. His arc is compelling, well written, and complete. I can't say the same about the character himself. The clan looks to Civ for guidance. He's the seer. He's clever, well educated, great at strategizing and making plans. Or is he? No, I swear, every masterful plan Civ comes up with sounds dumb on paper, is dumb in practice, and relies almost wholly on luck to succeed. His first big plan to defeat the direwolves, his final plan to save the clan, and everything in between. It's part of the reason the ending's so disappointing. I expected to see something genuinely clever and surprising from Civ, but nope, just another hope for the best harebrained scheme that can't succeed without a whole lot of luck behind it. It's partly a storytelling issue as well. The lines are a little blurred here, but it's like Civ's one of those real-life executives who somehow failed upwards. They're totally incompetent, have no idea what they're doing, but they don't need to, because luck is always on their side. Alright, enough about Civ's incompetence. Let's talk writing, which I give a 3.5 out of 5. It's decent. It's simple prose with minimalist descriptions, a little too minimalist in some places, which does make it hard to visualize certain scenes or sensations. Sometimes it's more telling than showing. One example. At one point, Civ catches a pleasant scent. Pleasant is such a vague descriptor that tells us very little. It's a very YA, upper middle grade way to write where you're saying a scent is pleasant rather than describing the actual scent and the character's reaction to it. It's not a deal breaker, but descriptions could be more detailed and concrete in some places. The dialogue's also clunky in some parts. I honestly couldn't tell if it's just the way the Vale speak, which may be the case. They do come across as very formal and proper in some scenes, but more casual in others. It's a little confusing, but I'm not putting too much weight on it. They're an isolated clan, so maybe their speech is a little off. I give it a pass. Overall, the prose is clear and concise. It's easy reading. I devoured the book fairly quickly and I enjoyed most of it, which is why I'm giving my overall enjoyment a 3.5 out of 5. Whether Civ's luck is the result of coincidence or divine intervention, neither of those are tropes I enjoy, so I did struggle with some aspects of the story. Like I said, I devoured Windlyn Vale, the novel, not the Vale itself. Don't eat fails. It's a shorter novel with a punchy, fast-paced storytelling style and some quick payoffs and reveals, and it sets up what could be an expansive series. So when we crunch the numbers, Windlyn Vale brings home a strong, if my math is correct, 3.4 out of 5. Well above satisfactory and a B's dick from good. Because it's so short, fast-paced, and easy to read, it's a great buffer book between bigger, more complex novels. It's fun and simple. Too simple, perhaps. How do they shapeshift? If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe. If you didn't enjoy this video, hit subscribe anyway and hate watch my content. That's always fun.